Welcome to the Addison Bowen podcast, where we talk about what it actually takes to hit your first six or multi-six figures in business. I'm Addison, certified clinical hypnotherapist and online business coach for entrepreneurs. And 3 years ago, I decided that nursing wasn't for me, dropped out of nursing school, and dove into the online space. From free hypnosis audios to unfiltered conversations and business advice, this is the space for you to take radical responsibility towards creating your dream business. Let's dive in. I am so excited to introduce Autumn today, who is going to talk about monetizing your magic, all about personal branding, content creation, growing really quickly in virality. And I am just so excited to hear her perspective on the social media side of things, the strategy, as well as mindset and nervous system regulation. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Autumn just to give us a quick introduction of her and her business and where she's at now, and just a little bit about her story with going viral and how that can affect your mindset and your business.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and to chat with you today. Like Addison said, I'm Autumn, and I call myself a multi-passion entrepreneur. I go by many labels, but today I feel like I'm putting on the hat of like the social media strategist and creator coach and business mentor. So that's who I am today. And 2 years ago, I got my start on social media with growing really quickly on TikTok. And Addison, I'm not sure if you have any specific questions related to that, but stop me at any point. Um, and I started off as a fitness influencer, if that's what you want to call me. And before that, I was just kind of like posting on social media without really any strategy. I didn't really have like business in mind or becoming a big influencer or anything like that. I was just kind of posting to like connect with people, share my journey. I was going through a really big weight loss journey at the time, and I ended up going viral multiple times and growing my following from probably like I think I had like 900 followers to 250,000 within less than 3 weeks. And since then, it's just been like a very up and down journey of, reinventing myself as a content creator, going from being like an quote unquote influencer to, moving into like the coaching space as a fitness coach and fitness and nutrition coach, then pivoting a few times to different spaces, and then finally figuring out who I am as a creator, who I want to be as an entrepreneur, and kind of bringing that all together within my business and what I do online. So it's been kind of a long journey to get here, but I'm excited to chat with you guys about it today and talk about all things social media strategy and the mindset side of things. And yeah, Addison, is there any questions that you wanted me to start off with?
Yeah, so you talk about monetizing your magic. I feel like that's
hmm
your signature line on social media. And you went from, like you said, fitness influencer to then now like content creator coach and social media
hmm
strategist. When you say monetize your magic, what really does that mean to you? And like, how do you feel like you got to the point where you were like making that pivot from fitness influencer to social media? Was it going viral and learning, all of the behind the scenes of what that entails and how that affected your mindset? Maybe just a little bit more about that aspect in your pivot. I think there are so many people that in the online space want to make pivots, and that's a pretty large jump too, right? And so I think that it would be really cool to just talk about that and like what monetizing your magic means to you.
Yeah, I love that question. I guess there are like two questions. So the first one, like with monetizing your magic, I really see it as helping people to step into being able to make money online doing what they love, because I feel like we all have like a unique gift or skill or area of expertise, or maybe we're just like passionate about something. And for me personally, like I have never seen myself going into like a traditional job or a 9 to 5 or being like a corporate um whatever. I've always kind of known from a young age that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, kind of do my own thing. And I didn't really know how. And 2 years ago, when I first started on social media, I didn't realize how lucrative it is how lucrative it is of an opportunity to make money online. I feel like back 2 years ago when I was starting, like social media was just taking off in terms of like making money, and influencers getting brand deals, or content creators being able to monetize through like digital products or courses. And so since I was able to do that for myself and kind of like step into this world where there's like infinite possibilities, you can literally make money doing anything online. I feel like I have a really good opportunity to help others step into this and kind of see the potential that they have within themselves, and then kind of turn that into a career or a way of creating the financial time and location freedom that they want for themselves. um, so that's kind of where monetize your magic came from. I think we all have a little bit of magic in us. Like, we are, creators of our reality. I love manifestation, and I kind of like blend all of those things together, like the manifestation, the social media strategy, and being able to monetize into like a nice little I guess package is the word that's coming to my mind, and helping people like turn the magic that they have within themselves into, money, and being able to support themselves, and create freedom that they want. And for me, when I pivoted a few years ago, or I guess it was last year, I pivoted because I moved like very fast. I feel like anytime I step into something, I realize really quickly that that's not actually what I want to do. And then I'm like, okay, let me just make this like slight pivot into something else. So when I first started as a fitness and nutrition coach slash influencer, I quickly realized that that's not what I was really passionate about. I went to school for psychology, and I've always loved mindset and the subconscious mind and just all of that stuff when it comes to helping people improve themselves and their lives. And I realized that the physical aspect of it, like just helping people transform their bodies, it wasn't really fulfilling me in the way that I was hoping that it would. um, and so I started moving more into like the mindset space and manifestation, and I still really love that stuff. But I also recognized quickly after pivoting in that direction that I also love, the strategy behind growing on social media. And I love studying other creators and like what's working, and marketing and business, and like making money and helping people, step into their potential. So I like don't see it as making like a big shift, because I'm still like showing up with a similar message as I did before.
Mhm.
Like, overall, I really want to help people improve their lives in some way, shape, or form. Just the way that I've been going about it has shifted as I, continue to grow and evolve. So I think like for anyone who's afraid to make a pivot, or who's like hesitating because you're worried that like people won't accept it or they'll be confused, I feel like the right people will follow you through all of your different pivots and transformations, as long as you keep showing up with the intention of, helping others. Or it's not similar, it doesn't have to be similar to what you start with, but I feel like as long as your intentions and the vision that you have for like your big vision, your why for why you want to help people is the same at the end of the day, the right people will continue to hear and see you.
I love that because I've made a million pivots as well too in the span of 3 years, over 3 years now. And I feel like it was the same for me, where just kind of that inkling of, okay, there's a different direction you can go. At the end of the day, it all comes back to
Mm-hmm.
like impacting people maybe in a slightly different way. Um, so I love that, just that thought of, okay, maybe this isn't so aligned. It's not really changing how I want to
Mm-hmm.
impact people, but the delivery essentially of your business is changing a little bit. So I really love that. I love the idea of monetizing your magic. So I think to just go a little bit deeper into that, because I know you blend, just like I do, like the mindset side of things with the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And you had mentioned to me that initially when you went viral on your first account, that you noticed, this was very detrimental to your mindset, also to your business. And
Yeah.
I'm curious because I think so many people are in the space where maybe they're not seeing sales. I mean, I hear this from clients all the time where they're like, I'm not seeing sales, like I just need to go viral. And I'm like, that's not the answer. Like I know, business owners that are making millions of dollars online that, have 8,000 followers, right? And so, or less than that. So that's not necessarily always the key. Of course, we want to get visible and get, eyes in front of other people. But, I think that what it really comes down to, and that I've noticed, and conversations I've had with my team is like, if I did go viral right now, which I have on TikTok, but let's say I go viral today and I have, 50 to 100 to 150 more, maybe a million people like clicking on my links and sending me emails, and, like, can my business support that growth? And so that's a conversation we've had behind the scenes of like, how can we make sure that we can actually support the growth that we're desiring? And so I would love to hear from you, from someone that is maybe in social media, like, oh, I just need to go viral to create sales. And like we're saying right now, obviously that's not always the answer.
Mhm.
What was it for you that you noticed really happened when you did grow that quickly? And, did that also influence, this is a second question, but influence your desire to pivot? And was it about like not being able to hold the growth, or was it about the mindset side of it? I'm just curious to kind of hear like what was happening behind the scenes, because you said you got 250,000 followers in the span of like 3 weeks, which is
Yeah.
crazy, crazy, insane growth, which is awesome. And like the fact that you're able to do that and have the skills to do that is incredible. But yeah, I would love to just hear more behind the scenes of what really happened when
Mhm.
that did, like, over the span of those 3 weeks. I'm sure that was crazy for you.
Yeah, it was insane. I wasn't expecting it. When I first started posting and I was like playing around, I was like, okay, and I started seeing other people, influencers, and I was like seeing them make money. I was like, maybe I should try and become an influencer. And so I was manifesting it, and my goal when I started out like taking it more seriously and being intentional about showing up on social media was 20,000 followers. That was my goal. 20,000. I thought that that would be like the perfect amount to start getting brand deals, and like that's enough people. And then, obviously it ended up being a lot more than 20,000, a lot more quickly than I had anticipated. And I remember the morning I woke up, it was like I had grown to like 10K, and then the next morning I woke up and it was my account was at like 30 or 50K.
Oh my
And
gosh.
literally had a panic attack. My brother, he's the one who came into my room, and he was like, "Did you see you have like 30,000 followers now?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I opened my phone and I looked, and I was like, "Holy shit." Sorry if I can't curse on here.
No, we're cursing family here.
Okay. I was like, holy shit, what did I just do? Because I had like opened myself up to all these new eyes on me, all these new opinions, the potential to be judged. Like, I was thinking, what if people don't like me? What if people think I'm like a fraud? Like, I had all this imposter syndrome around, sharing fitness content and like giving people advice about, fitness and nutrition and all that stuff. And then as my account continued to grow over the next 2 weeks, it just amped up even more. I just felt more anxiety, more stress. And even throughout the whole of last year, even now I'm still like working through these things that I experienced from the growth so quickly. Um I really felt like my nervous system just took like a big hit. Like I already struggled with anxiety in the past, and I was finally in a good place once I started growing. And then having all of this new exciting, because it was very exciting and I was so happy to be experiencing it, but it was also very like stressful because, anything that's unfamiliar to the nervous system is unsafe. And so it just made me feel very like unsafe, out of control all the time because yes, I was posting the content, but I couldn't control the response that I was getting back. Like we can't control these algorithms. I didn't know how long this growth was going to continue. I didn't know if like I didn't know anything when I first started. Like I was just going in blind. Like I had no idea what I was doing and I was just throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I think that's the thing that was the most nerve-wracking. It's like I have all these followers now, what do I do with them? And like I figured it out because I love just testing things and seeing what works, but at the end of the day, like I wish that I had prepared myself on like a strategic level, like on a business level. I wish I had known what I was getting myself into before going into it. And then also on like an energetic level, I wish that I had the nervous system regulation tools and like the stress management tools to like actually be able to hold all of that success because it was not just the followers, like I was able to monetize very quickly as well. And it all kind of like backfired because I wasn't prepared to actually like receive and keep and grow all of that amazing success that I achieved. And so like looking back now, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have been a lot more strategic about the way that I went about it. And then also I would have had a lot more like help from someone else like Addison or another mentor who could support me on that like energetic nervous system level because it was scary. It's still scary.
Yeah, I love all of that. And this is, I mean, why I preach always having people in your corner, whether it's mindset coaches or business coaches or whatever.
Hmm.
More so with stuff like this, like the mindset, spiritual, nervous system side of things. When I was like, had the biggest part of, growth in my business when I really went from okay, I'm making like $5,000 to $7,000 a month to hitting my first $35,000 sales month. Like that was a big jump, and I was doing breath work regularly at the time. I had a huge launch, and like I genuinely don't think I would have been okay throughout that time period without doing breath work literally weekly, if not multiple times a week, and then also doing hypnotherapy at the same time. And it's always interesting to hear that kind of happen for someone else because this is very normal. I say when it comes to like mindset and business, there are three key areas that I typically, look at with clients, which is money, like how you feel about the growth of money, how you feel about
Hmm.
money in general, your experience with money, success. So success in all areas, and then visibility. And visibility is a huge one because, a lot of times I'll even ask my clients, okay, like if you sit here and you visualize that amount of growth, right? Like if you post on TikTok and tomorrow or in the next 3 weeks, you have 250,000 followers, like what do you notice in your body? What do you notice in your mind? What thoughts? And it's always exactly what you described. Like that feels incredibly unsafe. Like I can't
Hmm.
control what comments I get. I can't, control the outcome of this. And so with my clients, I'm always typically preemptively kind of looking at those things so that they don't block their, success when we get to that point. Because they all want that growth, but it's like we want to also feel safe in that growth. And it's not even about like controlling the growth or having, like controlled chaos in the growth or anything like that. It's about having the tools to regulate your nervous system throughout that growth and also doing the work throughout that growth, but then from a strategic point of view, like you said, also having more of the back end of your business kind of set up to hold that, right? Because like if I
Yeah.
have like 20,000 followers on TikTok right now, let's say in the next 3 weeks I grow to 250,000, which like let's manifest that, right? But
Yeah.
I have strategically like done the growth or the other aspect of the back end of my business. Like we've looked at, okay, what do our funnels look like? Like what if we had this many people sign up for our email list? Is that okay? Like, how are people contacting me? Do they have
Mhm.
access to go into offers that don't require me being on camera with them, et cetera, et cetera? So like looking at like if my account actually grew that amount. And I think the other thing to think about too is when you have 250,000 followers, there is going to come a point where only about 20% of them are actually seeing your stuff on TikTok or
Yeah.
Instagram, right? So the other aspect of that is like, are we setting up the business in a way where you're not just like gaining these followers and losing the potential for income, right? So that is going to
Mhm.
be like getting them on another platform like a podcast, email, et cetera, et cetera. So I really love that you highlighted both the like nervous system side of things and the strategy side of things. And I'm curious, and I love this conversation just in general, but I'm curious if you feel like when you did gain that amount of followers, you self-sabotaged in any way when it comes to like nervous system not feeling safe, like what kind of happened for you, just so we can kind of even talk about how important that mindset nervous system regulation side of things is. Because I know you made a huge pivot. You decided, this is not necessarily like the place that I want to be in business, but did that create self-sabotage? Did you, what kind of happened when this went down?
Yes. Short answer, yes. I started to sabotage myself so much, like so much. And it was because of the limiting beliefs that came up for me. Like at the time when I first like I would say I popped off, I had no idea about this entire world of like mindset work and nervous system work. Like those weren't even terms that like I would have used regularly. I had just started working with a fitness coach the like November before like I went viral around like December, January of 2022. I just started working with my first fitness coach like the fall before. And then like afterwards and I started realizing I need some more help, like my mindset was holding me back from, growing even more. I hired a mindset coach, but before that, I was like kind of just doing things all on my own, and I ended up sabotaging myself a lot along the way. Even now, like, still I self-sabotage sometimes because we're still working through some of the things. Um but it looked like just procrastinating so much and like letting my negative self-talk just like hold me back. All the imposter syndrome, I would like just fall off the face of the earth for like a week or two at a time and not post any content. I wouldn't respond to like comments or messages because like I would just get so overwhelmed by like the amount of comments and messages that I was getting. And I called in that growth. I called in those eyes and those people to like help, but then when they came, I wasn't actually like prepared for it. And so it scared me to the point where I was just like frozen in inaction. Um and like I said, like procrastination, avoiding everything, um, the negative self-talk. There were so many things going wrong for me at that time. I just kind of like took a big step back. And I don't think that's what caused me to pivot out of that niche. I think it was like me just realizing like stepping more into like myself and who I feel like I'm meant to become because I never really felt like fitness was a long-term thing for me. It was more of just like I'm going through this, let me see if I could help other people going
Mhm.
through it too. And I think that it was a necessary pivot. Like all the pivots that I made have been necessary for me to get here because I feel like where I am right now is really where I'm meant to be and where I want to be. Um, but yeah, the self sabotage that came along with the growth, it just kind of like I don't know, I see this a lot with people that I work with as well who are either just getting started or who want to, go super big, super viral or whatever. Which is why I don't advocate for that. Like I tell all of my clients who come in working with me, like our goal isn't to go viral. It's to like create community.
Yeah.
I see them like freezing up because they're wanting these big things, but they're not actually ready to either do what it takes to get there, or if they have a certain level of success, they can't move past their glass ceiling
Mhm.
because they don't have the right tools when they come to me. So I really like to help people get from where I was to where I am now, where I feel like I have the tools to actually self-regulate. I'm not, self-sabotaging 24/7. Like I know how to
Mhm.
manage my emotions and my energetics because I feel like if I had these tools that I have now back then, I would have I don't know, I just would have been so much better off. Like I wish other creators who are trying to um you know grow really quickly, which like I said I don't advocate for, but it's going to happen because like the point is to grow and like we can't really control how quickly it happens. um, but I just see so many other young creators like going through what I went through, and I wish that I could just tell them to like slow down and like it's okay. You don't need to rush the process. Like take your time getting to where you want to be and like actually develop the tools and techniques that you need to like achieve that growth and success, but also keep it. And yeah, I just wish I had known that back then.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting for me to hear your story because I feel like I was fortunate in the sense of I started doing, and maybe it was because I worked with a lot of mindset coaches. This is, I'm obviously a hypnotherapist now, but I didn't know a lot about the subconscious mind or about mindset, about nervous system stuff prior to starting my business. And I was fortunate in the sense of I very early on realized my fear of being seen, and it wasn't in this like massive way. I think at the time I probably only had like 1,000 followers on Instagram, but it was the first time I was launching a group program. And even with 1,000 people seeing me selling every single day, I was like, holy shit, this is like terrifying. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, without even really knowing what I was doing, was like, oh, so like if I can't, sell to 1,000 people, then I'm definitely not going to be able to sell to 250,000, right? And so I started the mindset work very early on in my business. So it's interesting to hear kind of the opposite of that, where you had the quick growth, and then you were like, okay, I'm noticing these things within myself, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
what you just described with the self-sabotage and the procrastination, and that's all things that I speak to, that you speak to, we probably both see within our clients. And it's even interesting on an even deeper level to think about the stress response that comes with that amount of growth on
Mm-hmm.
both ends, whether it's slow growth or it's not. And this can happen, like I said, with success, visibility, with money. And I see in your shoes you just described a freeze response, which is a stress response. For a lot of people, it's flight. So they have to completely like shut down accounts or something. For other people, it is like freeze, and so I think that it's also really powerful that you're able to pinpoint what that was for yourself so you can kind of recognize it moving forward. But I think the thing that I even want to drive home, just like talking about all of this stuff, is that this is not stuff that's just going to go away, right? Like you don't do one hypnotherapy session, one nervous system regulation, tool, or have one nervous system regulation tool, or know how to do tapping or whatever, and you're just like good. When you're
Yeah.
growing a business, it's like the new level, new devil, situation. And I think that I just want to drive home with what you said. It's about like having the tools so that you can help yourself through all of those moments, because as you're growing your income, as you're growing your following, you're going to notice self-sabotaging patterns come up at every single level. And I think, we talk a lot, or I talk a lot about like money blocks, and people are like, oh, how do I clear these blocks? And I'm like, it's not about clearing them. It's about, recognizing them and also realizing this is probably going to come up at every level. And so when you're aware of it, when you seek the support of mindset coaches and stuff that can pinpoint, your blind spots, et cetera, like that's really what it's about. It's not just going to go away. And we all have issues with money. And so I think it is really, like you said, just about having, those tools. So I would be curious, from your point of view now, like having gone through that major growth and kind of seeing what that caused, and then obviously like starting a whole new leg of your business and going down a different route. When it comes to tools, both with the social media strategy side of things and then also the nervous system regulation mindset side of things, what would you say like your top things are? Like what can people utilize or learn about, or who should they work with, or whatever it is, like essentially to kind of prepare for that growth, or not even to preemptively prepare for the growth, but just to support themselves as they are growing a business. Because you're right, business is all about growth. I always get confused when people are like, oh, I'm good, like I'm good at this level, right? And I'm like, okay, the whole point of a business is growth. Like, so you're saying you don't want to make more money? Like that makes no sense to me. But so I'm just curious, like I have my opinions, but I'm curious what you have noticed with that kind of opposite side of things for me, what you really would have wished that you knew or had the tools for or whatever when it comes to that level of growth, because you can't control it.
Yeah. I wish that I had a mentor before. Like I said, I was working with a fitness coach, but because I hadn't like planned on getting into social media or entrepreneurship, at least that early, and in the way that I did, like I thought my way of doing entrepreneurship was going to be like real estate. I'm a realtor in Maryland, so I like did that stuff, and like I had personal training certifications and stuff like that. So I thought that's how I was going to do it. Um, and I wish that I had a mentor for both business and for, like mindset, nervous system stuff before getting into this. I think if someone like stumbles into content creation or entrepreneurship kind of like I did, it's kind of hard to plan for that if you don't see it coming. But if you know
Mhm.
this is something that you want to do, that you see yourself either becoming a content creator or influencer or being an entrepreneur, online coach, whatever you want to call yourself, if you're working in some capacity on the online space and you're trying to make money doing it, I would highly recommend investing in mentorship, for all levels. And if you can find one person who does it all, awesome. If not, I am a big fan of like having multiple mentors. Um, because I think different people bring different things to the table. They bring different skills and different expertise. But I think it was so helpful when I invested in my first mindset coach, my first business coach, who really helped show me like the things that I didn't even know existed. Like everything I know now is because I invested in mentors. I feel like if I had just continued going blindly down the road that I was, I would have quit. Like I would have quit.
It's like a cheat code, right? Essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that having someone who has walked down the path that you want to go down, who has the success that you desire, who can teach you what you don't know, is it, like Addison said, it's a cheat code, and it'll make you feel so much more safe and secure along the way. um and like while our mentors, they can't do the work for us and they can't hold our hands, I think it's nice to have someone in your back pocket who you can run to for support and guidance, and who can, like I said, show you the blind spots of things that you're missing and that you might not be able to see, and who can like just guide you in the right direction, because like how can you know where you're going if you've never been there before? And I think part of it is that like trial and error. Like I loved my throwing spaghetti at the wall era. I think it was really fun to just kind of like throw shit up there and see what happens. But like now that I'm trying to make this into like my career, because like I said, I don't see myself going into like a regular job. You have to be a little bit more strategic about it. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I would recommend, is just having mentorship. Even if it's like listening to podcasts, like if you can't afford to invest at like a high level with like one-on-one or a mastermind, like get in some room with some people who are doing what you want to do, just so you have that support. Whether it's like getting a few of your friends together and just forming a little group, accountability group, or like I said, listening to a podcast of someone you really look up to, joining their free offers. Like there's so many ways to get your foot in the door and to get into the room with people who can help you and support you. um I wish I had done that sooner. Like I cannot stress enough how much I love having mentors.
Yes. I just love everything that you're saying right now. I feel like this conversation is lighting me up because you guys will hear me say on the podcast a lot, like, are you actually taking your business seriously? This is something that I actually ask my clients, like, who are, desiring that level of growth that you had, or desiring this like massive empire, right? And I'm like, what makes you think that you're, in the place to support that? What makes you think that you deserve that level of success? Like, if we're being honest, like, are you taking this growth that you want seriously? And to me, taking that growth seriously means always having people in your corner. And that might look different at different points in your business. For me, at some points, I've been in multiple masterminds. When we were in a mastermind together, I was in two at the time, right? And I was in a huge growth period in my business. I've also, worked with consultants. I've had one-on-one clients. I've been in memberships, right? I'm always expanding my knowledge when it comes to mindset. I have some really exciting things that I've invested in coming up here, pretty soon. And that's like, I think that people have this idea in business, like, oh, I just need one coach and then I'm fine by myself. Like, I actually think that it's a disservice to your clients and to yourself to not always have someone in your corner, someone to reach out to. Like you said, even if it is, let me get all these, entrepreneurs together on a Zoom call once a week or something to co-work. And so I always ask my clients as well too, when they're, struggling in business, I'm like, okay, do you have a support system? Like, you have me as a mentor, but do you have like friends? I have business friends that I voice memo, that I have,
Yeah.
their numbers, and I'm like, hey, can I tell you about this thing? And it is so different when someone actually gets it. And so creating community, having mentors, to me is a non-negotiable. It is something that I will always have. And so I think, just to everyone listening to this, like, maybe challenge yourself to, if you don't have people in your community, entrepreneurs that get it, you only have your friends and family outside of business that are, obviously not in business and aren't able to always understand what you're going through, to challenge yourself to like reach out to someone and be like, hey, do you want to be like accountability buddies? Or, hey, do you want to set up a Zoom? Like, we do similar things. I'd love to chat with you. I promise you, you will feel better if you have those
Yeah.
conversations. And so I'm just challenging everyone that's listening to this, because I think this is such a powerful, conversation. And like you said, I feel like I feel the same way when it comes to mentorship, when it comes to having my friends to reach out to that are in business. It's like that. Without that, I wouldn't be here. Without the hypnotherapy, the mindset work, I would literally not be here. I even had a post on Instagram that was like, without this one thing, I wouldn't be here. Because it's hard. Like, it is challenging to hold it all. It just is. And so, yeah, I just think that this is such an important conversation. And, you're so right. And even for everyone listening to this, like, we'll have your handle, below this episode. I know that I'm open to having those conversations. If people want to DM me, I'm sure you are too. Like, if people
Yes,
want to,
anytime.
yeah. So I think that, again, just an important topic of conversation. So on a more strategic side of things, when it comes to, we talked a little bit about like mentorship, and like tools, depending on like which area you want to go, that's up to you, right? Like, whether it is mentors or building a community or whatever. When it comes to like personal branding, when it comes to content creation, when it comes to like the actual strategy, do you feel like you have, like a checklist, or just like a very like basic, place for people to start if they are in that position. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a checklist, but if they are in that position where, they do feel like they're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall right now. I talk about this a lot when it comes to strategy. A lot of people feel a lack of confidence in business because they are just like, let me throw this up and we'll see if it works, right? And that's not necessarily how to grow a business. So when it comes to, again, that personal branding, content creation, like the social media strategy, where would you say is like the most important place for people to start aside from mindset, but just when it comes to strategy, to feel like they're not throwing spaghetti at the wall, to actually understand what's working, what's not working, how they can create sales, or how they can build a strategy for their business? Obviously, that's probably going to depend on the industry, but I'm curious if you have any like key points that people can kind of take away from this.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned checklist because that's actually the next freebie that I'm making
Oh,
currently.
yay.
Little like social media checklist that you can use to make sure you're on the right track. But I think the first and foremost thing that you have to do is like decide which type of creator, influencer, entrepreneur you want to be, because I think that's going to determine like what
Mhm.
avenue you go down and like how you actually pursue growth and monetization, because not all content creators or entrepreneurs are doing the same things to grow, and there's so many ways to get to where you want to be, but I think it's important to know like what you want, because if you're looking at everyone else and seeing what everyone else is doing, it's so easy to get shiny object syndrome, or to like try and hop on different trends, or like just switch up your strategy, and like that's not going to help you grow and monetize. Like you want to pick a lane and kind of stay in it. And like I think it's also fine to like test things out here and there, but ultimately you have to like stay in your lane and focus on you and what you're trying to do. And then I always call this like the 6 V's. So the next thing that I would suggest is getting clear on your 6 V's, and that's your vision, your values, your vibes, your voice, your visuals, and visibility. So, like your vision, I always think of that as like the bigger vision that you have for not just your business or, the kind of creator that you want to be, but like your life. Like, why are you trying to grow on social media? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Like, why do you want to be seen by more people? I think that knowing your why is like the most important part, because if you don't know your why, it's going to be so easy to want to give up or get derailed and distracted, or I don't know, you just won't really have like a sense of like higher purpose for what you're trying to move towards. So like getting clear on your vision is like number one, and then number two is your values, because I think from determining what your values are as a person and then also as an entrepreneur or a creator, then you can like start building community and content and growing your brand around those values that you have, because I think that those are the most important things that will connect other people with you. Because like if you're trying to create that community, create that business, ultimately people are following you as a person,
Yeah.
and they're following you for like the shared values that you guys have, similar visions. Like one of my biggest values is freedom, so I attract a lot of people who want financial freedom or
Mhm.
time and location freedom, because like I said, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I want to travel the world and wear nice clothes and just be able to have that lifestyle where I'm living on my terms. So I feel like I attract a lot of people who also value freedom. And then like I would suggest like getting clear on like your top 5 to 10 values, both personally and professionally. And then just starting to create content around those values, and like those can also be good content pillars for you if you like decide
Yeah.
that you want to like niche down, which is a whole different conversation. Um, but just like kind of determining like what is important to you and what you want to share with the people that you're trying to like rally your message around, or
Yeah.
like build the community that you're trying to build. And then your vibes, like what kind of vibes do you want to have on social media? Do you want to be like the professional, like super put together, like people come to you and they can expect like you know I don't know a word other than professional, but you know what I mean, like someone who's like very put
Yeah.
together, polished? Or do you want to be more like casual and like girl next door, bestie vibes? Like what
To
is
me,
the vibe
that's
you want to give off? Hmm.
to me that's almost like brand archetypes too, right?
Yep.
Like, are you the hero, the leader,
Hmm.
the like? That's I love that. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
I
didn't mean to
love
cut
the
you off, but
No, it's okay. I love the brand archetypes. Like, this I think there's a quiz that you can take. I love like the personality like type quiz things. But yeah, it's kind of like that, like kind of determining like what kind of persona do you want to have online, and like what vibes do you want to give off, because I feel like the vibes that you put out is what you get back. So if you're putting out the vibes of someone who's like the more polished professional, you're going to attract more polished professionals or people who want that vibe. But if you're, more personable and relatable, and like you're sharing like aspects of your life but also of your business, you'll attract people who have similar qualities and attributes to you. So it's all up to you and what you want to, how you want to show up, but like getting clear on that. And then also like the voice that you want to use, which is similar to vibes. It's like, how are you speaking to people when you show up? And then visuals, which is more of like the like typical thing that I think people think of when they think of branding, like the
Yeah.
colors and the fonts, and like even like down to like what kind of clothes you wear, like how do you wear your hair and your makeup. I think that's all a part of like that
Yeah.
vibes and visuals aspect. And then the last one is visibility, and that's more about like what platforms are you going to show up on, how are you going to show up on those platforms, are you doing more like audio content, visual, both, written content, do you want long form content, short form content? And that's like all a part of like the visibility aspect. So those are the 6 V's. And I think that's where I tell everyone to start when they come to work with me. It's like we're going over like all of those things, and then once we get clear on those, then we kind of like go more into like optimizing, creating community, and then monetizing from there. Because if you want to monetize, I think the first step is like creating a really solid brand. Because if you
Yeah.
don't have a brand, if people don't know you, like you, and trust you, then they're not going to buy from you.
I love all of that. I love the 6 V's. I feel like that's something that's easy to remember too, but
Yeah.
you're so right. Like I say, the same thing with my clients when it comes to strategy and stuff. Like, yeah, we can throw spaghetti at the wall, but like, it's not fun. Like it's messy. You know what I mean? So I love that you kind of take people through those things, which obviously can change with time too. Like I definitely think
Right.
my brand, my colors, et cetera, has like changed over time as I've evolved. My values might have changed a little bit, but for the most part, like that still stands the same from the beginning of my business. But I never really had someone go through those things with me to create like a really solid foundation. So I feel like even though, someone might have said, okay, this is the content you should post, it's like, yeah, but if I'm not consistently kind of coming back to the values of like freedom, that's one of mine as well too, which is probably why we connect so
Yeah.
much. Freedom or luxury or whatever it is for you, right? Like and you're not constantly pulling back to that, then it's like the messaging isn't there in your content strategy, right? So I love all of that. I'm trying to see if I have any other questions. Like, do you think that when it comes to personal branding, content creation, anything else, like, I feel like we've talked a lot about the mindset, the nervous system regulation, like, success, visibility. Do you feel like there's anything else that would be really important to kind of like round this out and to cover when it comes to personal branding, to mindset, really building a strong foundation for growth, that you tell your clients that you would love to just like share with my audience?
Yeah, so this is a big one that I think a lot of people don't talk about. And it's that I always say like success leaves clues, not a map. Because it's so easy to, I think, look at other people and what they're doing and the brands they built and want to emulate them. Or a lot of people will tend to copy popular creators. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves, because if you want to become someone that's known for something new that's never been done before, or you just want to have like a unique brand that you stand out from the crowd, you're not going to do that by copying other people. So I think that it's very important to get clear on your goals and your vision
Mhm.
and your brand, and stop looking at what everyone else is doing and just really hone in on you. Because if you're copying what someone else is doing, people aren't going to want to follow you because they already have that other person. Like I see a lot of people trying to emulate popular creators, or even coaches in the space with like, I see so many people who have like the same fonts or the same colors, or
Yeah.
it's like you go to their profile and they look like an exact replica of another big coach or entrepreneur, and I'm like, I don't need you because there's already them. Like, we need you and your unique story, your unique vibes and voice and experiences and perspective to bring something new to the space and just to like the world. So I always tell my clients, like, don't try and be a copy of someone else, like be the best you that you can be. And I think that when you're doing that and you're showing up authentically and you're creating from a place of like love and excitement and good intentions, and you're like sharing your message that you are here to, share with the world, then the right eyes and ears will find you. Like, it's only a matter of time, and like you just have to continue being consistent and showing up and just knowing that if it's meant for you, it's meant for you. And it's like I said, it's only a matter of time. So, yeah, just like not being a copycat and just being patient and being persistent.
I love that too, because something that I really pride myself in is that if I didn't like post one of my clients, you probably wouldn't know who they are because their content isn't going to look similar to mine. And I feel like
Hmm.
it's probably the same with your, clients as well too. And it's interesting to follow someone and be like, oh, I know exactly who your mentor is
Yeah.
because you're like the content or the vibe of it or whatever, even like down to, like you said, like the graphics and stuff can be so similar. And so
Yes.
I absolutely love that you mentioned that because that is huge. And I will just say, and you can probably agree with this as well too, but this is why I love mindset work. And I feel like every entrepreneur needs to be doing some sort of subconscious reprogramming, some sort of nervous system regulation, what that looks
Mhm.
like for you. Like my client was asking today, like, do I need to do hypnotherapy every day? And I'm like, I want you to have some sort of mindset routine every single day. Like that is part of my framework, whether it is hypnotherapy or tapping or, I want you to have something because what that allows us to do is create safety, like you said, in the growth, but also safety in being ourselves and showing up
Mhm.
authentically and not trying to speak like other people or not trying to, show up and be some other person. It's like I can own who I am and I can, be vulnerable if I want to or not, or I can,
Mhm.
like there are some people that love posting more like content in like their underwear or whatever, like
Yeah.
boudoir photos, and like that's beautiful and I love that, but you don't have to do that if that doesn't
Mhm.
align with you. You know what I mean? And I think that that's like what's incredible about the mindset work and really owning your voice and owning who you are. Like either way, there's not a right or wrong way. You don't have to be
Mhm.
like anyone else. You don't have to, be super conservative like you said, or you don't have to be that super businessy person, right? Like, and I've
Mhm.
even noticed I've tried to be that person, and in my
Me too.
photos and stuff, like I've the blazer with like no shirt underneath, like that vibe, and I was like, this is not me. Like that's just not me. So I think that and you can probably agree with me, like the mindset work in that aspect is
Yeah.
so important. So I love that you brought that to the table. Well, this was such an incredible conversation, and I just want to thank you for coming on. I feel like all of these conversations just like light me up, but it's so cool to hear your story and all your pivots. And like, you're in Spain right now traveling, which is
Yeah.
incredible. And like, your business growth and all of your knowledge when it comes to social media and like your frameworks and stuff. So I just want to thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. I love this conversation.